All right. Hello. We're going to chat today because I'm going to share with you guys a little secret that maybe you have sometimes felt that way too. So, as you're hopping on, hi, comment, let me know where you're joining from. Where in the world are you? And how did you find out about this? Are you here on watching a replay on YouTube? Are you live with us on Facebook or LinkedIn? Comment because I do check all my comments and will respond. So, we are going to talk about the fact that you're probably not lazy, but you might be lacking some clarity. And so, for a long time, I would think, maybe I'm just lazy. I would just avoid the things that I needed to do. I would go, when I go binge on some Netflix, I'd be like, let me go entertain myself. And guys, this goes back a while ago, like when my daughter was going through cancer and she was in the hospital and I was just trying to get through life. I remember I just wanted to go out downtown. I wanted to go to happy hour. I just wanted to avoid doing the things that I really should have been doing. And so I would just think, well, I'm just lazy. And then this happened after I moved to New Jersey and I was trying to get my life back together and just felt like the needle wasn't moving. Have you ever felt that way? If you felt that way, put that in the comment. The needle isn't moving. And so we have this tendency to think maybe I'm lazy. Have you ever felt that way? Or is like nobody ever felt that? I'm the only one who does. If you do, put that in the comments. And so um, I get back, I'm working my business and maybe you felt like this, like you're doing the things, you're checking off the to-do list, you're getting the stuff done that you're supposed to do, but nothing's changing. Like the needle isn't moving. You're just kind of going through the routines. And that's when we can kind of feel like a little exhausted. We feel like I'm getting a lot of stuff done, but nothing's really changing. I was more checking boxes to be able to say that I did it, to be like, yeah, completed what I said I was supposed to do. And so what I was actually thinking was I had labeled laziness was actually really the cost of not being clear on what I wanted, why I wanted it, and who I was becoming in the process. So I'm going to say that again. What we label as laziness is usually the cost because we aren't clear of what we want, why we want it, and who we are becoming in the process of getting it. All right. So today I want to walk you through 3 clarity blocks. And these are blocks that keep, even if you're driven, even if you are achieving and you feel like you're checking the boxes and you're doing things, but you feel like you're stuck. You feel like you're not really aligned with your purpose. Like you're not waking up feeling super fulfilled every day, feeling like, yeah, this is really the life that I want, headed in the direction that I want. You're not seeing things happen. Again, feeling like that needle is stuck. You might have 3 of these clarity blocks. And so we're going to dive into what those are. Okay. Because here's what we think. We think if I'm just motivated, that will fix everything. I see this all the time, right? We go to an event, we go to a conference, we listen to a video because we just need to get motivated. If I got motivated, then things would happen. I love this. Teresa's saying, my ADD, no age gets in the way. I'm not lazy. I like co-working sessions. So this can also, though, okay, so this is a great point. Teresa's saying, I'm not lazy. It's not that I'm not doing stuff. It's just that I kind of get all over the place. I get distracted. Is that what you're kind of saying, Teresa? Like I get distracted. I'm focused on so many different things. And so then I don't get stuff done. That distraction can also be because there's a lack of clarity. That distraction can be almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I would encourage you, be careful the stuff that we label ourselves with. I think that, we're very quick to label, well, I have ADHD, or in this case, I have ADD, or like for me, I have some health issues. I very rarely say them out loud. I don't say them out loud because I don't want to affirm that. I don't want to speak that into the universe. It affects me. It affects my life. I'm working with doctors on how to deal with my energy and my time. And it can really, I mean, for a long time, I wouldn't even acknowledge it because I was like, I don't want to create that. Then I got to a point where I was like, all right, Tara, this is affecting your quality of life. You have to acknowledge that this is, an issue that you have and a diagnosis you have to deal with. But I'm not going to give it power. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I'm going to say, okay, this is something I have to work through. But be really careful because I think we can often label ourselves and use that as a way. It's not sticking your head in the sand. So I want to be really careful of this. It's not sticking my head in my sand. For a long time, I was sticking my head in my sand. I don't want to give it power. And every time we speak something, we strengthen it. Every time we speak something, we strengthen it. So whether that's I'm this, I'm lazy, I'm not motivated, I'm not a good organizer. I recently had this actually thrown in my face because I'm going up to Boston once a month and I'm working at a conference for leaders. Very exciting, got approved into this thing where I go and work with a leader, and there's a lot of coaching that's happening. And so one of the things that I said is that, I'm really great in a group. I'm not so good one-on-one. And one of the reasons that I'm going to this event is and it's a 6-month commitment, is to really develop some of my more one-on-one skills. And I was really called out. She said, stop saying that. Stop saying that. Because you know what? The truth is, because I just got off a coaching call, I am good one-on-one. I just don't have as much confidence with that as I do in a big group setting. Right? So in my head, I think, well, I'm not as good one-on-one, when it's really just I don't have as much confidence, but I need to stop speaking it because I'm strengthening it when I speak it. So I think we all need to be aware of the things. What are we saying that we're creating and strengthening, right? So I'm going to say, Teresa, that, and let me know if I'm right on this, but that it's maybe that because of the scattered, it's because it's not clear. I'm lacking clarity on what I really should be doing. So I'm doing all the things, right? So it could be, I feel like I'm lazy, I'm avoiding doing anything. Or you could do the other extreme. I'm doing all the things, but again, still no clarity, still not moving the needle, still not getting my life where I want it to be. I think the result ends up being the same. So let me know if that resonates with you at all. See, the clarity is really the foundation for confidence, right? So without clarity, we get stuck, and it doesn't matter how much we do, how much we work, how much effort we put in, we just kind of hit a level where we get stuck. And I remember hearing this term, a rut is a rut. It doesn't matter what level you are. Some people, their ruts are up here and we're like, oh, I wish I could get up there. How is she complaining? Look at where she is. I'd love to be where she is, but a rut is a rut, and you can get stuck in a rut at any point, and it usually comes from this lack of clarity. And clarity is not like a one-time thing. Clarity is something that evolves over time. It's constantly evolving because we're constantly evolving. We're constantly changing. Yeah, so Teresa's saying a clear map would be beneficial. I know. Well, wouldn't that be great? I mean, wouldn't that be great if we were born and God was like, here's the map, just follow the map. Here's the yellow brick road, just follow the yellow brick road. So part of this, and I do think, Teresa, clarity gives us a clearer map, but life throws detours, and life throws roadblocks and speed bumps. And the most successful people learn how to navigate that without letting it throw them off their path. Okay. And here's the thing, I think where it's hard is that if you're a high functioning or you are a successful person, this can trip us up even more. Because when we're used to being successful, when we're used to hitting goals, when we're used to moving the needle and getting things done, we kind of get impatient. Like, why are things not moving? So let's talk about the first block, the first clarity block. The first one can be that we're chasing the wrong why. And this can be where we're living in a version of success that really is no longer fits us. Okay. So I've shared this with before, I grew up and I went to school for theater, studied, that's what my degree is in, studied at the National Theater Institute, really thought my whole life. I mean, I started ballet class at 3 years old, begged my parents for ballet class, and was a competitive dancer, was a professional choreographer, all the things. I always thought that's where my life was going to go. And so I really got into this point where here I start this direct sales business. I'm 20 years old, and these are really different paths. And for a long time, I really struggled because I was so trying to hold on to the version of what success and what I thought my life was going to be. But I was getting led down this other path, and it didn't line up with what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And so there was this internal conflict for a really long time. Even as I got more and more and more successful in that business, it was almost like my soul was like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? This is so different from what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And so we kind of start chasing these identities until it doesn't make sense. Right? And so this could be a relationship. We feel like we're in this relationship. I've invested so much in this relationship, but at some point you go, wow, this relationship doesn't really fit who I'm becoming. This could be where you live. Maybe you've lived in a community and you're feeling a calling because you're outgrowing that. It could be career. We see this all the time in career. We're chasing this why of what we thought we wanted, what we thought was going to give us this success. And so there's a misalignment. And so sometimes the clarity block is just there's a misalignment from what we thought we should be doing, what we thought our life should look like, what we were striving for, and then actually really what would align who we are now, right? Who we are right now. And so a question, and one thing that's important to, I think, for all of us to understand is that a misalignment doesn't mean a failure. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that it's time to evolve. It's time to become this different version of yourself, the upgraded version of yourself. right? I love the term level up. Have you guys heard that? I mean, I know it's like a catchphrase, level up, but I love that idea because the idea is that we're constantly leveling up. We're constantly leveling up. We're constantly evolving to a new level of ourselves. And it's kind of like you keep wanting to evolve. We keep wanting to level up, but at each level, things are a little different. Our values might be a little bit different. Our priorities might be a little bit different. Our confidence might be a little bit different. And so we start to be misaligned with things that no longer fit that new level of ourselves. So here's a question that you can ask yourself. I'm going to give you some prompts, and I would encourage you to write these down and to journal with them. Okay, so one is, what do I want because I want it, not because I was told I should want it? What do I want because I want it, not because I was told I should want it? And this can get into lifestyle, finances, career titles, things that we're pursuing. But what do I want? And a lot of this comes from, what did our parents want for us? What does society want for us? But what do I want? Those may be very, very different things. Okay, block number 2, we avoid the truth of who we really are. And we really can't make progress and move the needle forward unless we're really clear with who we are. So let me give you guys some examples. Sometimes we don't want to really take a look at the truth. And I would do this. One of them was I would avoid looking at my bank account. I didn't really want the truth about my financial situation. I was working and I had this mindset of, if I just make more money, it'll fix the problem. And I think sometimes we can have that in the entrepreneurial world. And that is not always a good mindset, right? I will tell you what did help for me. Not affiliated, not endorsed, not sponsored in any way, but as an entrepreneur where I have an income that is not like a steady paycheck to budget out. I tried all the budgeting apps. I tried everything. Oh my God, I tried everything, every app. The only one that really, really worked for me is there's one, and you do pay for it. It's called Why You Need a Budget. And Why You Need a Budget. And I had gotten it, and then I didn't really, I got it, I tried it, it didn't work. I thought that doesn't work. But then I went back like 6 months later and I got the app, and then I watched all the videos, like probably like 3 months, watched all the videos, and then started using it with the videos. And the year that I did that, I saved more money than I had ever saved. And part of it was because there's a way it works with where you have differing incomes every month. So I really love the app. I always endorse it. Again, not affiliated with any way, but it was really a game changer for me. And I was able to make both a personal one and a business one. So I have 2 different in my app. One is for my personal and one is for my business. And it was really, really helpful. Because I was avoiding the truth about where I was. Right? Sometimes I've also done this. How many of us, we avoid the truth of how things are in 2025 because we want things to be the way they were in 2015 or 2005 or 1995. We want to do things. We want to live life. We want to run business. We want to parent our children the way that we did for the last, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And let's be real, that world doesn't exist anymore. So whether it comes from, I always thought I was going to parent a parent who was going to parent this way. This is how I thought I was going to be. And the reality is, when I grew up, my parents didn't have to worry about cell phones and social media and stuff like that. So they did parent differently than I can parent as, in 2025, and different than you're going to be able to, right? It kind of like with my weight. My gosh, I grew up as a kid who could eat everything, anything that I ever wanted. Dunkin' Donuts, Blizzards, boxes of Entenmann's donuts. And I was always super, super, super underweight. Well, that changes as we get older. And not just because I got older, but I moved my business online. I sit now all the time. I moved from a state that was really active and where we outdoors all the time to a state that's very sedentary, where it's raining a lot of the time and people are in their car. And so I wanted to be able to do what I used to do and still have the results that I used to have, even though the truth was that's not where I am now. And I can't do those things anymore and get those results. And I need to do different things if I want to be healthy and stay in shape. I don't like those things, but I have to do different things, right? But I want to dig my head in the sand and just be like, well, how come I can't be like I was 10 years ago, right? I had the same thing with my business, and I've seen this a lot. There was like the pre-pandemic business and the post-pandemic business. A lot of people just want to go back to the way it was, but we can't. The world is different now. The way people shop is different now. I saw this. How many of you guys saw this during the pandemic? There were so many of these high ticket coaches coming out selling these high ticket coaching programs that never should have been coaching anybody. And They take like a certification course that they paid for, but had no real life experience, no real world experience, right? They were teaching a lot from theory, not from what they actually had done. Um, and they had all these coaches, and people spent big bucks and then got burned. And now people are leery to do that, right? So it's a different world. So the things that worked no longer work, right? And it's the same thing with platforms. And it's one of the reasons we talk a lot in the Hey Girl You Can community, that if you have a business, you want to grow your email list, because platforms come and go, right? Yeah, Facebook was really hot. Well, my daughter, she's not on Facebook. She's like, that's, for old people, Mom. Then you had Instagram, then you have TikTok, and there'll be something new. And we need to be able to change and evolve. But the thing is, we avoid the truth of where we are. And that could be because we either don't like where we are, we want to pretend we're not where we are, we want to um, magically think we are someplace different, or there's just where we are in the world. We don't want to, whatever's working now, we don't want to be like, in today's world, this doesn't really work. I need to shift course. And so we're not clear because we're kind of in avoidance of where we really are. What are the habits? And so we kind of act, well, let's talk about this. We put this mask on that everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Fine is not fulfilled. Those are two different things. You can be fine and not be fulfilled. So here's a question. What am I pretending is working that isn't? And guys, I've had a business for 28 years. This is a question I've had to ask myself a lot. And what's interesting is I used to be able to set up my business and put like a whole 12-month program together, what I was going to do for the next 12 months. The way the world is now, I can really only do about 6 months at a time, because things are changing that fast now. And what people want and how people engage is moving that fast. So what am I doing that I am pretending that's working, but it really isn't? And that could be in relationships. That could be in how you run your home. That could be in how you organize your time. That could be in how you organize your finances. That could be in how you run your business. That could be in how you do your lead generating. That could be in how you parent your kids. I parent my kids this way because that's what my parents did for me. But if I'm honest, it's not really working because I have different kids, right? They're not me. I would say I was a kid who was like, first child daughter, right? I have all the parental approval like at the top of the list. My daughter, I have an only child. She does not care at all about parental approval. If my parents said to me, "We're so disappointed in you," I would have been crushed. I would have done anything to just don't be disappointed in me. My daughter could care less if I am disappointed in her. Could care less. I don't know why, but she could care less. That is not going to work, right? So that's where there's this misalignment, this clarity of like, I'm just going to put my head in the sand and pretend that she's the way I was. She's not. She's not. So that could be another block. Block number 3. You've stopped trusting yourself to choose. And we see this a lot, particularly with women, right? We ask everybody else's opinion. We play it safe. We stop making decisions from belief and we start looking for permission, right? There's a very big difference, and I think it's a fine line. There's a very big difference between wise counsel and not listening to your own voice. I think there's a place for wise counsel when we have a big decision, a life decision, to go seek out wise counsel. We need to be very discerning in who those people are. Do they have a vested interest in a certain outcome? Can they come from a place of like no judgment? Do they come from a place that aligns with our values? If I'm asking somebody relationship advice, but we have completely different values on relationships, there's no way they can give me wise counsel because their values don't align with my values, right? If I'm asking somebody financial advice, but we have very different values when it comes to finances and what that looks like, they can't give me wise counsel for me. Their counsel might be great for somebody else, but they don't align with my values. So we have to look at like, who are we asking this wise counsel from? Who are their values? And do they have a vested interest in the outcome that could impact their ability to give us wise counsel? So I think it's important to seek wise counsel. I've made decisions, and one pretty recently, like within the last 4 years, that I should have sought a lot more wise counsel on. I didn't. And that backfired on me. Right? So I think there are times that we do need to seek wise counsel, but that's different than not trusting the little knowing in your voice. Most of us are too busy to slow down to listen to the little voice. Or how many of you have ever been like this? Sometimes we want to stay too busy so we don't have to listen to the little voice. I've had that many times. I don't want to listen to that little voice because I don't like what that little voice is telling me. So I'm just going to stay really busy. I'm going to stay really productive because I don't want to have to actually deal with what the little voice is telling me, that knowing. And so we are not clear when we really stop trusting that we know. And if we don't know, that we can go into prayer and we ask for discernment and we ask for wisdom and we ask for guidance and that it will be given. I mean, that's very biblical. If you seek, it will be found, right? But most of us don't seek. And it could be that we don't seek because we just don't make time for it. It could be that we're just avoiding the seeking. It could be that we're afraid if I do seek, I won't get the answer that I want, or that I seek and I'll get a different answer from what I want. But it is biblical. If you seek, it will be found, right? And most of us don't slow down enough to seek on a regular basis, right? Or we only do that when something's so big that we're out of practice. It's kind of like, you only go to the gym once a month. You're not in the same shape as somebody who goes every day. But if every day we slow down, just a little bit of quiet time to get aligned, to listen to that voice, to get still, to get in touch with our energy, right? Wisdom and discernment, we're asking for that. So here's a prompt. Here's a question for you. Okay. What would I do if I fully trusted my own voice and intuition today? What would I do if I fully trusted my own voice and my own intuition today? How would you be different? And I think this goes back to Teresa asked for a clear map. This is where you get that clear map. You ask for that wisdom, that intuition, and then you start to create your map from there. And sometimes you go, I don't know why it looks this way, right? And here's where I've also fallen into a pit. I've looked for everybody else's map. I went, okay, Teresa, show me your map. What are you doing? Okay, Jen, show me your map. What are you doing? If I can use your map, I will be successful. Guys, this has been a downfall for me for decades. Because I would see successful people around me and they would have a map. They had a clear map, right? Just like Teresa's saying. And I would think if I could get their map, then I could be successful too. And I would go seek everybody else's map. And then I would find one and I'd be like, oh, let me do this. And it wouldn't work. Why wouldn't it work? Well, we talk a lot about this in Hey Girl, You Can, and we dive really into this in the Reclaim Your Power Day. All of us are wired different. What works for me will not work for you. And what works for you will not work for Susie. And what works for Susie will not work for Jen. Why is that? Well, we all have different DNA. We all naturally, biologically wired different. Our brains are different. Our energy levels are different. Our strengths are different. What drives us is different. Our Enneagrams are different. Our communication styles are different. Our love languages are different. We are different. We are all different. And we all have different life experiences that affect how we show up. Our confidence level, our skill level, our emotional resilience level, our people skills. This is all different. So you imagine you take all of these things. It's like you're so unique. Think about your fingerprint. You're so unique. You have one fingerprint. So how can my map work for yours when we don't even have the same fingerprint, right? Because that's how unique we are. Here's what's great. Here's the best part of all of this is that when we get really clear on who we are, when we get really clear on our strengths, on what drives us, on why we think the way we think, on what sets us down, what knocks us over, when we get really clear on how do we pick ourselves back up, when we get really clear on what self-motivates us versus looking for outside motivation, we step into a really incredible power. That's where we get that clear map. We get this clear map because we are clear on who we are, what we want, why we want it, and who we are becoming in the process of getting it. All right. And so this is the kind of work that I get really excited about. This is why I love diving into this. This is why I love the Reclaim My Power Day, because this is the kind of work that we do. Because we're not just going around throwing around affirmations and stuff like that. What we're doing is we're looking to build alignment, like getting really clear, really aligned. So it's not really about who am I? It's not like trying to find this strange person. I'm looking for this person. Who am I? It's really reconnecting with who you are. That's always been there, right? That's always been there. We just drowned out her voice because we get so busy. We get so much pressure from society, from other people, from expectations that we drowned out our own voice. And so it's getting, oh, what do I have on here? It's getting clear and getting, back into that alignment. Okay. And so it's kind of going from scattered to really focused, and from really unsure and into grounded, and to get really stuck from these old patterns into like new patterns that align for who we are. It's not like having a new, it's not like, oh, I'm going to have a new life. It's more about like, I'm going to have a new ownership of the life that I have. Okay. I'm going to really step into alignment into the life I have. So here's the thing. So we went over our 3 blocks. I'm just going to read them again. So block number 1 is we're chasing the wrong why. Block number 2, where's our block number 2? We're avoiding the truth about where we are. And block number 3 is we stopped trusting our gut. We've stopped trusting our voice. We stopped trusting our inner knowing. So, and I gave you a prompt so that you can actually work on for each one. So I will go back onto that. So prompt number 1, the question you're going to ask yourself is, what do I want because I want it, not because I was told I was not because I was told I should. Your second question you're going to ask yourself is, what am I pretending is working that isn't? And the third question you're going to ask yourself is, what would I do if I fully trusted my own voice today? Okay. And I would encourage you to write those down, journal, see what comes up for you. Do you have an aha moment, something that you never really thought about? This is how we start to move the needle. Okay. Now, if you're like, this really resonated with me, this kind of stirred up some things for me, this is the wait list for the Reclaim My Power Day. There is an incentive for those who jump in first and claim those first spots. There's going to be a bonus. So get on the wait list as soon as it opens in about a week. You will get first dibs on that. If you have questions, DM me the word reclaim, and let's chat about your questions. But that's the wait list. That's what you want to grab on, because here's the thing. I don't think you're stuck because you're lazy. I don't think it's that you're lazy. I don't think we are wired to be lazy. God didn't make us to be lazy. God created us with talents and gifts to be used to bless the world with. We are designed to create. Like, we are creators. We are made in his image. We are designed to create. We are designed to bring things to existence. Like, this is why we exist. So I don't believe it's in our nature to naturally be lazy. And so when we say to ourselves, oh, I'm just being lazy, it's not. We are avoiding something. We are avoiding something because we are not clear. And so we're using, well, what we're calling laziness as really just avoiding. And it could be avoiding feeling. It could be avoiding facing things. It could be because we are not clear on what we're supposed to be doing. And so if you're finding like, yeah, I'm just, checking these things off, I just wonder, like, maybe it's your old life doesn't actually fit the new life and the new you and who you're becoming. It's kind of like a snake. Sometimes we need to shed that old skin that doesn't fit us anymore. Right? We need to remove that skin that doesn't fit us anymore so we can step into who we really are in alignment, in our power and in our strength. And that is not failure. That is not failure. When you move away from something that no longer serves you, that is not because you are a failure. That is because you are stepping into your next calling and you are stepping into your next chapter. That is not failure at all. That is growth, and that's exciting. So I would love your thoughts. I'd love to put in the comments do you have any answers to those questions? Do you have questions of your own? Like I said, get on the wait list. I will be back next week with another topic. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. You can go under my events tab and find that out. But we're going to continue to dive into this, into discovering who you are. And that, there's a saying, or not a saying, but there's some research that shows more people spend more time planning their summer vacation every year than they actually do planning their life. And I think a lot of us, we end up in places that we never intended because we didn't slow down long enough to seek clarity, discernment, wisdom, and find, I love what Teresa said. I'm going to start using this. I love this visual, a clear map for where we want to go. And what's the very first thing you do when you look at a map? You look at, where am I now? Right? Have you ever been in a mall? Well, I live in New Jersey. There's a lot of malls here, and you go into the big mall map, right? And it's like the machine, and you go, okay, I want to get to this store. And what are you looking for? You're looking for, where's the X? Where am I right now? If I don't know where I am right now, how do I possibly get to where I want to be? Thank you, Teresa, for that absolutely beautiful visual that worked so well with today. It is such a beautiful visual. I'm looking for a clear map. Well, first I need to know where I am on the map. Then I need to know, oh, my alarm's going up. Then I need to know where I'm going. That's how I can figure out how to get there. So thank you, Teresa. Beautiful, beautiful visual. And I will see you guys next week. If you want to know more about the Hey Girl You Can community, if you're like, I need to be hanging out in a space, I don't know if we have that. You can go here. You can go here. This is my website, and you will see a link there that says membership, and you can find out a little bit more about the Hey Girl You Can community. We have, I think 10 founding spots left. And we have a really great class coming up this month about how to move past what we think is failure. And if you struggle with failure, you struggle with the fear of failure, you're going to love, love, love this class. So I can't wait to work with you guys on this. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody.